Știu. Știu.
Știu.
Știu.
Știu. Știu.
Salut, sunteți la ZF, sunt Cristian Husu și astăzi vom discuta despre perspectivele de creștere pentru Europa Centrală și de Est în actuale schimbări geopolitice, cum vor reuși monedele din regiune să facă față fluctuațiilor valutare din ce în ce mai ample și cât de expusă este zona Europei Centrale și de Est, din care face parte și România, la euro și dolar. În partea a doua încheiem săptămâna cu ce ne arată voturile de la alegerile prezidențiale despre evoluția României, de ce a câștigat teren curentul populist, naționalist, suveranist, cum votează românii în funcție de veniturile pe care le au și statutul social sau profesional. Înainte să mergem la primul invitat de astăzi, ziarul financiar de astăzi. Îl vedeți aici, imediat pe ecran, în timp ce la noi principala problemă este legată de deficitul bugetar. Cum să reducem acest deficit bugetar, dacă pot fi tăiate cheltuielile, dacă trebuie majorate taxe și impozitele. Polonezii sunt într-o ofensivă continuă în România în ultimii 2 ani. Investitorii din Polonia au făcut peste 10 achiziții în România. Domenicheni de la Fast Moving Consumer Goods, la IT și energie. Cine este de fapt în spatele acestor tranzacții? Lângă antreprenorii polonezi sunt fonduri de investiții din Statele Unite și Marea Britanie. O veste bună. Numărul de angajați a crescut cu peste 40.000 între decembrie 2024 și martie 2025, deși economia și-a încetinit ritmul de creștere. Pe 4 iunie vom avea ZF Insurance Summit 2025, pe 2 și 3 iunie vom avea ZF Banker Summit 2025, cel mai important eveniment dedicat industriei bancare din România și, repet, și pentru asigurări ziua a 3-a. Andrei Gemeneanu de la Managing Partner Morphosis Capital și președintele Europea. În România există o grămadă de antreprenori cu viziune, sunt peste 100 de proiecte ambițioase pe care le putem dezvolta. Astra Vagoane Călători din Arad, un cel mai mare jucător de pe piața locală de materialuri rurand, a închis anul 2024 afaceri de 425 milioane lei și un profit net de 57 de milioane de lei. Compania din Arad a câștigat mai multe licitații de tramvaie, inclusiv la Oradea și Galați. Medicul cardiolog Gabriel Tatu Chițoiu, fondatorul Cariomed. Mortalitatea prin boli cardiovasculare este de 58-60%, nu avem programe de prevenție. Mergem acum, ne ducem în Belgia la Johan GABRIELS, Regional Director iBanFirst. iBanFirst, care are operațiuni și în România, este un fel de Revolut pentru companii. Noi săptămâna viitoare vom avea o conferință împreună cu iBanFirst despre piața Europei Centrale și de Est. Vom discuta despre perspectivele de creștere pentru această zonă din care face parte și România în actualele schimbări geopolitice, cum vor reuși monedele din regiune să facă față fluctuațiilor valutare din ce în ce mai ample și cât de expusă este regiunea la euro și dolar. Johan, hello, thank you very much for your presence at ZF Live. For people who don't know you, you are a banker. You run sometimes ago a bank here in Romania, and right now you are regional director for iBanFirst. iBanFirst is a Revolut for the companies. So welcome. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Christy. Thanks, and good to have me.
So iBanFirst right now, with all the operation, you have operation in Belgium, Poland, Romania, Bulgaria.
We have open in 11 countries: UK,
okay.
France, Belgium, Germany, Netherlands, Spain, Italy, Bulgaria, Hungary. What did I forget? Bulgaria, Hungary, Romania, of course, and we're opening currently in Portugal and Luxembourg.
Portugal. And the total volume you run?
We do about between 1.5 1.7 billion euro transactions per month.
Per month.
But we are a high growth company. I mean, we have been in the top 100 FT 100 for the last 7 years. So we show kind of above 50% growth rate every year.
In Romania last year, the total transaction was over 1 billion. I think 1.4 billion transaction here in Romania.
Yeah. And again, that we might kind of be close to doubling it this year.
Okay, you are a transaction platform for the company. You run.
We have, I would say, a state-of-the-art platform to do international transaction and risk management solutions, but we also kind of supported by local teams. So I think it's an excellent blend between the human talent and a state-of-the-art platform.
Okay, so. How you see the region in actual context, geopolitical context? You know all this country. You know what's happened in the world. What is your perspective?
I wouldn't say I know everything, but I have been 15 years in Romania. Indeed, like you're saying, first as a banker of ABN AMRO, and then what used to be Banca Comercială Carpatica, but now I'm in fintech. And indeed, I mean, I had actually a discussion earlier this week with a friend who plans to invest in Romania. And I actually start not calling those countries in the East emerging markets anymore. I consider them as the market. Because where do you think the growth is going to come from in the next decade in Europe? Is it the East or is it the West? And I tend to believe it is the East. And I see a couple of reasons for that. And first of all, in the last decade, the middle class has grown. The buying power of those people have grown, and quickly, when you look at just Romania, Hungary, Bulgaria, Greece, you quickly get to 40-50 million of people, of consumers that you can have. Before the investors, they came for cheap labor. That's not the reason anymore. There is also kind of a buying power locally. So I think that's one. The second thing which we have seen since COVID actually is the nearshoring. More and more people saying, look, maybe instead of having a supplier or factory in India or China, it's better to be closer to home. And then obviously Eastern Europe comes up. I think the third one that also might be in the future, I mean, unfortunately we have that war, but hopefully that will end soon. And then that country will need to be rebuilt, which obviously there will also be beneficial to the countries near to that country. Add to that the security level. I mean, Western Europe, the world is actually seeing Eastern Europe as at the border with Russia. So there will be an increase in defense spending and security, which again will also drive the economy. So there's a couple of reasons there where I believe that I don't call Romania and those markets emerging markets anymore, but I call them the market.
Okay. But in this context, do you think this region can maintain their economic growth? We see here in Romania.
Actually, look, I think normally I'm looking at Eastern Europe, and there's about 16 countries, and yes, some will do better than others. I mean, that depends on the decisions taken also by your government, the monetary policies, and the openness for foreign investors. So one country will do better than the other, but as a region, I clearly believe that the growth rate will surpass the growth rate of Western Europe.
Okay, but what is the case of Romania? We see in the last 12 months a decrease of the economic growth rapidly. From 4%, now we have 0.2% in the first quarter. And in this context, with our problem, budgetary problem, commercial deficit, current account deficit, how we see our future?
Yeah, look, I'm obviously see it more as a comparison west to east, and obviously you have a public debt deficit. But compared to some countries in the West, and I'm sitting in Belgium, I can talk about that. You're still doing okay, yeah. And I look not at, and of course there has been uncertainty. I mean, there has been uncertainty geopolitically with what's happening in the US, and also, I mean, with your presidential elections and everything going on there. So I think obviously uncertainty is always a bad idea when you kind of want to push growth because the investments are holding. I mean, people don't know, they're waiting to spend. Then there is the war, yeah? So all these things has an impact, but I don't think it's a specific impact in Romania as such. I think ultimately that will be readdressed. And what I see at your economy, and I even see it on the political level, I mean, what you can change quickly. I mean, when you do something in Romania, the impact of what you do can be seen very quickly. In Western Europe, it's much less, and that's why I still believe in the rebound of that economy that can be quite quickly.
How you see the operation, iBanFirst operation here in Romania? You mentioned last year was a good year, transaction over 1.4 billion. For this year, your estimate is the double. Okay.
Oh, yes.
How you see?
Yeah.
How you see the, let's say, the activity of your clients, Romanian companies?
Yeah. So that's, I mean, it's a good question. I mean, I think it's a combination. The growth is, of course, coming a combination of new clients and then existing clients doing more business or less business. So it's always interesting to see with your existing base of those clients, are they growing or are they slowing down? It depends a little bit on the industry, to be honest, but indeed, I mean, we are forecasting double of the volumes and a double of the revenue, and we probably can keep that trend for the next 2-3 years, and then obviously afterwards we will see a plateauing. But I believe that, again, the whole situation with your local elections, with Trump, the war, obviously has brought uncertainty. Yeah, I mean, which means that if there wouldn't be there, we would even be doing better. Yeah. The only thing what we have seen is that because of uncertainty, and we'll talk probably about that also later, more volatility in the currencies, that obviously people will protect their margins. So from our hedging perspective solutions, I mean, we definitely see a booming. But then on the growth rate, I mean, it really depends on certain industries. But because we're working more with, I would say, innovative kind of companies, I mean, we still see a very positive trend overall.
If you want to say to the people who don't know what iBanFirst doing for the companies, because you are not working with the physical person. Yeah.
So, well, look, I mean, I think this. So first of all, I think it's important to know why we're doing what we're doing. So we are a financial institution. So we are regulated. We have a license. We do international payments and we do hedging solutions. But more than that, yeah, and we probably do it better than anybody else. But more than that, we actually have people who will support the clients, will listen to the clients, will support them in their international growth. And you mentioned the summit we have next week. I mean, what we do there is that we put on stage people from Romania, Bulgaria, Hungary, who had the courage to grow their business international. And we are there to support them. And we are there to guide them with take away the pain points from international payments and secure their margin by risk management solutions. That's what we do. I mean, that's what we do, but that's also the why we are doing it. So that's has iBanFirst is, and we actually in the same situation. I mean, our company exists 10 years ago. Yeah, we have started to expand since 2001 in Romania and in Eastern Europe. So we're still relatively young also. So we know what it takes to actually grow a business international. And that's the other message that I'm giving to the Romanian market, also to go not only to think Romania, but also have the courage to kind of grow internationally. And we are there to help.
Johan, you mentioned that you support the clients. Okay, you support Romanian companies who wants to look abroad. In what way? Because you don't give credit.
No, we take away the pain point. We are a specialist in international payments. Yeah, we are specialized in protecting people's companies' cash flows and give predictability on the margin that they have. That's what we currently are doing. Yes, we are not a specialist, or we're not in trade financing or lending, So it's specifically on the payment sector.
Okay. What is the difference between you as a fintech and a bank?
Yeah. So a bank has a much larger product range. So we could be seen as a specialist in the financial sector, choosing a couple of products to support. Yeah, obviously a bank has investment products, they have lending, they do payments, they do they have private individuals, they work for companies. We are specifically focused on what we call small and medium multinationals. So people doing business already in international, thinking about doing business international, and we're focusing on payments and risk management solution. So it's a specialist in the financial sector.
Okay. In how many currency do you have on your platform and can make transfer?
But online, you can do more than 30 on the platform. Now, if you have more exotics, we can actually do that offline. So I think offline, probably more than 100, but the online situation is about 30 currencies pairs.
Okay. In Romanian, how many clients do you have, and from what sector?
Okay. The nice thing is that there's not a specific sector that we are focusing on. So we have clients in all sectors. Where we have a lot of hedging is in sectors where the dollar is still kind of predominant, and that's particularly in commodities. And I'm talking about energy, metal, and those areas, because it is already a dollar-denominated industry. Number of clients, we should be close to 500 now. And again, we're talking about businesses here.
Okay. Is the dollar losing relevance in CE? Because we are part of the European Union. The main currency is euro, okay? In Romanian, I think 70% of the transactions there are in euro. But you mentioned, if you want to trade in commodities, you need to have dollar. So the dollar is losing the relevance in this region and also in Romanian?
Yeah, so I'll come back specifically to Romania. In general, so first of all, 80% still today of every transaction is done from on one side or the other side with the dollar. So dollar is still predominant. Yeah. Now, that has been gradually coming down over the last 5 and 10 years already. So other currencies are gaining, particularly the Chinese yuan, the euro. So that's one thing. I believe that trend will accelerate. One reason is that the dollar has always been seen as what we call safe haven. So if there's uncertainty in the world, volatility, people tend to go to currencies like the yen, the Swiss francs, and the dollar. With the new government president in the US, that uncertainty is kind of falling down a little. I mean, only early this week, we have seen Moody's, one of the rating agencies, decreasing the AAA rating from America to AA+. It's a trend. It's a credit rating. But it's a sign that dollar will be probably under pressure, and that therefore people might look at different currencies. The thing also about tariffs means that it will be more difficult to, import or export to the US. So people who actually are producing in Europe, they will need to look for other markets. When you say other markets, you mean other currencies. So there also you kind of see a trend that dollar might be less important. And then the big chunk is, of course, that the largest, or is it the second largest economy, China, there's still a lot of payments going out in dollar, which doesn't really make sense. I mean, we will see a kind of continued growing of the market share of the Chinese yuan and even the Indian rupee in the near future. So that percentage, in my opinion, will go down, and therefore also the dependence on the dollar in Romania will go down also as a kind of from a geopolitical kind of perspective. I think, therefore, so I don't think that Romania will be hit or benefit necessarily for the decline of the market share of the dollar, but it's just the whole geopolitical kind of situation which probably will drive the importance of the dollar down.
Okay. Do you have transaction directly leu to yen, to won?
We can do that, yes. But
no,
not
but you
necessarily
have
on the platform, but those currency pairs we can do that.
Because we import a lot for the China, or all the importers are paid in dollar directly.
Yeah. So yen for Japan we can do it. Chinese yuan we can do it. Yes, there's no problem. And that's what we recommend also to do. You should not forget that one of the currency with the highest volatility is the dollar. So if you're buying from a country who is not doesn't need to pay the salaries in dollar, then you pay your invoices in Chinese yuan, because then you're cutting off at least already a intermediate kind of currency, which is a dollar. So it's a clear recommendation for people importing from China in Romania to kind of start paying in local currency. That's also why we have in the group some Chinese-speaking people who can even help in the discussions with their suppliers.
Okay. What are the biggest risks from your point of view in the region right now?
Well, look, I think,
and also in Romania, of course, in Romanian.
Well, look, I mean, I must say that a couple of weeks ago, I was a little bit uncertain about the outcome. I mean, I'm not hiding the fact that a pro-European president hopefully will bring kind of stability in Europe, which we need, especially in this kind of geopolitical kind of minefield, if I can call it like that. So I think that's a good move. So that's with respect to Romania. There is an importance of Europe coming together and playing a more important role. Again, if that does not happen, then we have a problem. So I'm actually more saying, when I talk about risk, I'm saying, look, Romania seems to be making a good choice. Europe seems to be coming together, even adding UK, what they call the willing. I mean, the country is kind of willing to kind of come together, build something, support Ukraine and all that stuff. So that's a good stuff. Of course, if there is breakouts there, then that might be becoming a risk. And then the other thing is, of course, the more geopolitical thing. I mean, the war, Israel, Gaza, or whatever might come up there. And then the last thing is, of course, what is happening in Washington. I mean, you never know that. So Washington, the wars, we don't have that under control. I think in Europe, I'm more optimistic now.
Okay. Do you have products like hedging the currency?
Yeah. Yes. That's definitely. I mean, that's our bread and butter. And again, that's why we actually have most of the discussion with the clients to better understand where their currency risks are, so that we can actually, in line with their risk appetite, kind of protect their margin. It always comes down to a margin protection. It's not speculation. It's really, you're selling something, you have a margin of 20%. How can I protect that 20%? That's the important thing. Because if you see the currency, I mean, just look at the dollar. Beginning of the year, we were at 103. I think then we went to 113, 114. These are big swings. I mean, if you are in a sector where the margins are relatively small, I mean, that volatility swipes out your whole profit. We have those products.
Yeah, Johan, can you explain us how it works when you want to hedge a currency? Let's say a Romanian company export in dollar, and how can but they have to make payments in euro. Okay, how can you hedge the currency euro-dollar?
Yeah. So if you're exporting to America, so you will actually get paid in dollar for your product. Now that might be 30 days, 90 days later. Yeah.
Yes.
So so when you agree with the price with your client in the US, you will invoice in dollar. It might be that the product still needs to be made. It might be that it takes 1 month, 3 months, 6 months to produce the product, then to logistically send the product, and then to get paid. there might be a period of 3 to 6 months where that rate on which you based your price, the dollar rate, is obviously moving. So once you kind of agree with your client to say, look, I'm going to invoice you at, let's say, 1.10 euro dollar, we can actually protect that when you then get the money 6 months later, you actually get the 110 or 111 or 19, because obviously we can kind of play with the flexibility. So that's a kind of what I would say a fixed contract. So you set the rate on the moment that you agree with your client for a price for, let's say, 6 months later receiving the dollar. Then when you receive the dollar, you can convert that dollar at the agreed rate, at the hedging rate. What a lot of people also do is that actually, yes, but we actually don't exactly know when we're going to get the money. It might be a month earlier, we might have delay in the production, the client might pay later. So then we give them some flexibility that during a period of 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, when the dollar arrives, you can still convert that at that rate. So that's why we have different solutions for different situations.
Okay. How many companies in Romania apply to this solution? Because in Romania, the people are working only on the spot. Very few companies hedge their transaction in the future.
Well, I mean, not in our client base, because obviously, I mean, one of the main reasons they are indeed working for us is just that we have those products. Yeah, and I think it's also an education, Christian. I mean, we have seen that since COVID, where there was high volatility, people start losing money. So people sometimes, and you're right. I mean, people are saying to you, why would you hedge? I mean, I'm doing spot because I don't know anyway what the dollar will be in a month or 3 months time. So I don't take any position. And I reply to that, if you don't take any position, you actually take a position. You take the position that actually the currency will move in your advantage, because otherwise you would protect you. I mean, it's like driving a car and saying, look, Johan, I'll never have an accident. Yeah. Okay, as long as you don't have an accident, it's okay. Yeah. But if there is one, you wish you would have been insured. And it's the same thing with hedging. So there is an education that we go through, but I would say 80% of our client base, I was talking about 500 before, are actually hedging or considering hedging.
Okay, next week we have a summit, regional summit, Romania, Bulgaria, Hungary. What will be the topic? Is the summit organized with you, ZF, iBanFirst, P2PR? And what will be the topic? And why you organize this summit?
So that's, I mean, it's a good question. It's the fourth time we are organizing it. And I repeat a little bit what I said before. It's like, it's the why. I mean, we really want to put as an example up there the companies in Romania, in Hungary, and Bulgaria who had the courage and who were successful in building an international business. And they will talk about what they didn't do well, what they did well, how they built up the business. So that's why we're doing it. We're really trying to support the region and actually motivate, in a way, other entrepreneurs or people who are considering an international growth to actually go for it, because others have done it before that. And obviously we will support them iBanFirst when it comes to hedging and international payments. Our founder, Antoine, will be there. We will focus a lot on the difference between East and West, a little bit what we talked today. Also a lot about risk management. There is an important economist from Crédit Agricole who is joining us to kind of give his perspective about the currency, the market. So I think it's going to be a very interesting event, and we have some key speakers. I think via ZF people can still register. I mean, it's already quite full, but I think there is still some spaces there available. So please get online. You see the full agenda. And we continue investing it in, because we really believe in the region by iBanFirst and in its founders and entrepreneurs and the spirit of of Eastern Europe. You know, I'm in love with Eastern Europe.
Yeah, if you compare Romanian companies, entrepreneur company from, let's say, Hungarian, Poland, even Bulgaria, and don't mention the Greece. In Romania, there are less willing to go outside. You are a banker here in Romania. You talk with a lot of entrepreneurs. What is your opinion? Why Romanians are so reluctant to go outside the Romanian market?
What you don't know, you are afraid of. I mean, I think it's that. That's why we actually want to show by example the people who have done it. And then the next step is that sometimes I'm saying, well, look, don't go maybe immediately to the UK or to the US or wherever, but try with your neighboring countries, try to export to Bulgaria, Greece, Hungary, Poland, yeah. And I know Poland is already like 5 years more advanced, I would say. They're more open in investing. But I think that's the kind of education. That's actually the reason why we are doing it. I mean, you have an educated workforce, you have great CEOs, you will get there. It's just a little bit of reluctance, I agree with you, compared to maybe some other states that would actually use the Baltics and Poland as the ones that are really more open to do this. But I'm sure Romania will be there.
Okay. For iBanFirst, who is the next market you open?
So Luxembourg, Portugal, that's for this year. There will be some other markets in Europe, and probably, but now I'm talking about in the more 2-3 years kind of perspective. We're obviously looking to the UAE, Asia, even America, but there we don't have an official decision yet.
What is the difference between iBanFirst and the other platform or the other fintech?
Well, look, I mean, we the other fintech, we are. I think the main difference is actually our human talent. I mean, I call it tech with a soul. I mean, you can have a great platform, yeah, and you indeed rightly say we work with companies, but actually we work with people working in companies. So there's still that human aspect, and I think we do much better in the relationship in building that. Yes, it's a great platform, yeah, but a great platform can be copied. Yeah, what cannot be copied is actually the relationship. I mean, you know, I go a long way already in my career, and a lot of things have changed. Yeah, AI will change our life of doing business. I come out of a perspective of a career where we didn't have mobile phones or internet, but what hasn't changed over all these years is the personal contact. My best clients are still the ones that I like most, and they like me. It's because there's a trust factor. So that's why I'm calling our company more like a tech with a soul, and the soul being the people behind it.
How can you transform? You are a commercial banker, okay? Right now you are fintech promoter. How is the transformation?
But fintech, look, I mean, the word fintech, I think somebody invented it in 2007. And at that time, it was more like, okay, let's disturb the banking sector. Let's come up with more digital, kind of faster, better, more transparent products. That's what it is. So I think there is a kind of where it was very different in 2007. Now, some banks have become more digital, more transparent. Other banks are lacking. So for me, there is not like a clear difference between the bank and the fintech, but I've always promoted, even with fintech, the human touch. And so for me, coming out of the more commercial aspect, commercial banking perspective, I've always kind of put forward the relationship with the clients.
Okay, so next week, Wednesday, 28th, regional summit. Okay, iBanFirst, ziarul financiar P2PR, to see how will be the growth in the region, how will be the growth in Romanian, how will be this transformation, this let's say this new platform who take transaction faster and cheaper. So Johan, thank you very much for your presence.
Okay, it was a pleasure. Okay. All the best.
A fost Johan GABRIELS, director iBanFirst. Luăm minutul de Business Magazine, ne întoarcem în partea a doua să vedem ce ne arată voturile de la alegerile prezidențiale, cum votează românii în funcție de veniturile pe care le au și statutul social profesional pe care îl au.
Peste 1 milion de euro este valoarea investiției pe care o are în derulare clubul sportiv Bistrong Tennis pentru dezvoltarea unei săli de sport multifuncționale. Cristian Ciocan Stănescu, fondator Bistrong Tennis și club sportiv Atlas, spune că deviza sa este nihil sine educatio și crede că aceasta este cheia oricărei construcții solide, fie că vorbim despre sportivi, despre echipe sau despre societate. HiSky este în prezent singura companie aeriană care are un zbor direct de la București la New York. Din 2024, o destinație care nu mai fusese acoperită de circa 20 de ani, când compania națională Tarom a renunțat la o cursă similară. Care este povestea acestei companii? În 2005, când și-a încheiat rezidențiatul în oftalmologie, dr. Andreea Ciobotaru s-a confruntat cu o realitate nemiloasă. Spitalele nu ofereau posturi, iar cele disponibile erau cu dedicație. O opțiune era să prescrie ochelari într-o optică, alta să îndrăznească să construiască o carieră medicală pe cont propriu. A ales fără ezitare a doua variantă. Cultura organizațională nu mai poate fi construită doar pe salarii competitive. Cei mai buni lideri de azi investesc într-un mediu unde AI oferă know-how-ul, diferența o face cine creează conexiuni reale. Șefii de companii, conducătorii departamentelor de HR și antreprenorii spun că aprecierea autentică și personalizată a devenit combustibilul retenției. În noua era a muncii, una a economiei relațiilor, liderii trebuie să devină constructori de punți emoționale. Când angajații se simt văzuți, ei rămân, evoluează și aduc performanță în companiile lor. Când nu, pleacă. Citiți despre toate aceste subiecte, dar și despre multe altele în cel mai nou număr al Business Magazine.